Good evening, and welcome back to SleepWise. Tonight, we drift beneath the waves. Far below the surface where sunlight fades, there lie silent highways of light, the undersea cables that connect our world. They rest quietly on the seabed, looping across continents, carrying the world's whispers in strands of glass. Close your eyes and imagine descending through the layers of the ocean. The surface light grows dimmer, bluer, softer. A school of fish passes overhead, their silver scales catching the last glimmers of sun. The water grows cooler, heavier, until everything feels hushed, as if the sea itself is holding its breath. Down here, among the stillness, lie the arteries of the internet. They are not towers or satellites, not bright screens or humming routers. They are ribbons of glass and steel, hidden beneath miles of water, each one no thicker than a garden hose, yet carrying almost all of the world's digital life. Your messages, your memories, your good night texts. It feels almost magical, doesn't it? That a quiet pulse of light, thinner than a strand of hair, can travel across oceans in silence and bring people together in an instant. But this story begins long before the age of the internet. Over a century ago, the first cables carried dots and dashes of telegraph code. In 1858, engineers connected Europe and America for the very first time by laying a single copper wire along the Atlantic seabed. The first message took hours to send. Signals were faint, the line often broke, and ships had to sail back and forth to repair it in storms. But humanity had found its first whispering bridge across the sea. And today, that whisper has become a song. Billions of tiny voices carried through beams of light. Each one flickers inside glass fibers wrapped in copper and steel, protected from pressure and salt. They stretch across 1.4 million kilometers of ocean floor, connecting nearly every nation on Earth. Most of us never think about them. But the internet, that invisible web binding our modern lives, depends on these quiet highways beneath the sea. As we drift deeper, we'll follow a single beam of light on its journey. From a coastal station on land, through cables armored like serpents, it will pass beneath waves, reefs, and darkness. It will travel faster than thought, yet softly enough not to disturb the silence of the deep. This is the story of how light finds its way across an ocean to reach another shore. Somewhere on land, someone presses send. A message awakens. A flicker of light born inside a strand of glass. That light carries words, memories, photographs, all encoded as tiny pulses racing toward the sea. Inside a quiet building by the coast, the signal begins its voyage. This is a cable landing station, a place few people ever see. Rows of machines glow softly in the dark, their tiny lights blinking like fireflies. Engineers sit in silence, monitoring screens, while lasers pulse through fibers, converting electricity into beams of light. It's here that the digital world meets the physical ocean. The light hums with information, billions of bits every second, flowing through amplifiers and switches, preparing for its long descent. When it leaves this station, it enters a cable unlike anything else on Earth. Each strand of glass is wrapped in layers of copper, steel, and waterproof armor built to survive crushing pressure and salt. Before these cables reached the sea, they were spooled aboard giant ships, coiled like sleeping serpents. As the ship sailed, they lowered the cables slowly, carefully, into the deep, a process so patient it seemed almost ceremonial. Near the shore, the cables are buried beneath sand to protect them from anchors and storms. Farther out, they rest directly on the ocean floor, stretching across ridges and plains. A single transoceanic line can be thousands of kilometers long, longer than any river, older than any road. Every 50 or 100 kilometers, a small repeater glows faintly inside the cable's armor. It acts like a heartbeat, giving the light new strength as it travels. Without these repeaters, the light would fade long before it reached another continent. With them, it travels endlessly, through darkness, through silence, through pressure unimaginable. It carries no heat, no sound, no scent, only meaning. A pure thread of human connection moving through the quietest place on earth. So, as you listen tonight, imagine that beam of light still moving, crossing valleys, drifting past forgotten wrecks, whispering beneath sleeping whales. It will not stop, not even as you fall asleep, because even in the deepest dark, the world is still connected by light. Far below the waves, the cable winds across the sea floor like a thread of silver. Down here, sunlight never reaches. The world is endless blue fading into black, a stillness so vast that even time seems to move more slowly. The light inside the cable continues its journey, pulsing gently within its glass core. Every few dozen kilometers, it passes through a repeater, a small cylinder no larger than a loaf of bread, resting quietly inside the cable's armor. The repeater listens, strengthens the beam, and sends it forward again. It doesn't judge the message or understand the data it carries. It simply keeps the rhythm alive. Through underwater valleys and along mountain ridges, the cable drapes and settles like a sleeping ribbon. It crosses regions of volcanic rock and fields of fine sand. Sometimes it rests on the flat abyssal plain where the ocean floor stretches unbroken for thousands of kilometers. The temperature here hovers just above freezing. It's a realm of calm and pressure, of patience and persistence. Occasionally, the cable passes by creatures that have never seen light. Translucent fish, drifting jellyfish, tiny bioluminescent plankton glowing in slow motion. To them, the cable is just another shape on the seabed, a quiet guest lying still among the silt and stone. Every few years, ships above monitor its pulse. If a tremor or anchor cuts a section, they locate it, lift it gently from the depths, and splice it back together. It's a delicate ritual, pulling a line that lies beneath 6 kilometers of water, repairing it strand by strand, and lowering it again into silence. The light continues, always moving forward, never resting. It doesn't know where it began or where it will arrive, only that its path is clear. In this way, it mirrors thought itself, fleeting, bright, fragile, yet unstoppable. And somewhere above, billions of us are unknowingly connected by this same quiet glow. Imagine it now, a single pulse of light traveling through a black ocean older than memory, carrying laughter, news, lullabies, and love across the world. No one hears it, no one sees it, yet it never stops moving. The deeper the ocean becomes, the softer the world feels. Currents slow, and sound disappears into distance. This is the deep mid-ocean, a place few eyes will ever see, yet where almost all human connection quietly flows. The cable stretches here for thousands of kilometers without a break. It crosses hidden mountain ranges taller than the Alps, draped along slopes dusted with volcanic ash. Sometimes it passes through trenches so deep they could swallow entire cities. In the cold darkness, the cable's metal layers creak softly, adjusting to the slow shifting of the earth. Above it, whales sing faintly in distant tones. Their songs echo through the deep, low, and resonant, while our invisible light passes beneath them in silence. It's a kind of balance, nature's oldest language above and humanity's newest language below. Two kinds of communication moving through the same blue space. Every so often, a tremor runs through the seafloor. Tiny sensors detect it, recording the movement as data, proof that the ocean's heart is still alive. Even earthquakes and storms above rarely disturb these cables. They're designed to last decades. They are the most resilient storytellers on Earth, carrying every kind of human thought through darkness and time. Somewhere in this endless expanse, a repeater glows softly, giving the light another breath. Inside that cylinder, delicate lasers and amplifiers hum quietly, powered by thin copper wires that stretch all the way to shore. This energy keeps the light alive for thousands of kilometers, a thread of meaning that never dies out. If you listen closely, you might imagine hearing it, a soft vibration beneath the sea, like a heartbeat echoing in the deep. Not mechanical, not digital, but human. Every email, every song, every voice call is part of that rhythm. As the signal moves forward, it approaches the halfway point of its journey, somewhere in the silent center of the ocean. Here, the water is still, the pressure immense, and the light unbroken. It moves steadily toward another continent, another dawn, another human waiting on the other side. As the light continues its path through the deep, the ocean above begins to change. Currents quicken, the water grows slightly warmer, and the seabed slowly rises. After thousands of kilometers in darkness, the cable begins its gradual climb toward distant shores. Here, along the rising slope of the continental shelf, the cable drifts over canyons and ridges carved by ancient rivers. Sediment glows faintly in the filtered blue, stirred by unseen currents that move like slow breath. The light inside the cable has now traveled for hours, perhaps days, passing through hundreds of repeaters, each one quietly lending its strength. On land, this same light might look like nothing at all, a flicker too fast for the human eye. But down here, it feels alive. Every pulse carries a fragment of our world, the hum of a conversation, the warmth of a memory, the calm of someone saying goodnight across time zones. The cable itself bears marks of endurance, tiny scratches from the ocean floor, specks of rust, traces of deep-sea creatures that have brushed against it. Yet, despite the pressure and time, it remains steady. It has weathered storms, shifting sands, even volcanic tremors. There's a patience to its purpose, a quiet persistence that matches the rhythm of the sea. Above, a school of giant manta rays drifts like clouds. Their movements are unhurried, weightless, timeless. If they could sense the signal beneath them, perhaps they'd hear a faint hum, the collective heartbeat of humanity, passing softly below. The cable's journey is long, but it never wavers. It's guided only by the memory of its path, the map laid when it was first placed by human hands. And so it travels on, one light pulse at a time, through cold and current, toward the promise of land. As it nears the edge of the shelf, the ocean begins to brighten once more. Particles of light shimmer faintly above, carried down by sunlight that has returned after its long absence. For the first time in thousands of kilometers, the world below glows again. The signal now approaches the shallow waters near the coastline. Here, the ocean grows restless. Waves rise and fall above the cable, sand drifts in steady motion, and the seabed slopes gently upward toward daylight. In these coastal shallows, the cable is buried beneath the sand, shielded from anchors, tides, and storms. It winds through the ocean floor like a hidden route, unseen by the swimmers and boats above. Every meter has been carefully placed, guided by charts, sensors, and human hands that worked patiently through long nights at sea. Above, the surface glitters with morning light. Ships pass overhead, unaware of the glowing thread beneath them, and deep below, the signal continues its journey, unwavering, undisturbed, carrying the same rhythm it began with. Soon, it will rise into another cable landing station, perhaps on the other side of the world. There, the light will emerge from the water, blink through switches, and split into countless paths, finding phones, computers, and screens. A message that began as a thought will finally reach its destination. But for now, it remains in its final stretch of ocean, where sea and land almost touch. Fish dart through kelp forests, Currents curl around rocky ledges, and the cable hums softly beneath it all. It feels like the last chapter of a long journey, quiet, steady, and sure of where it's going. On the shore above, waves roll in rhythm, folding over one another with a soothing, endless sound. The tide pulls, returns, and pulls again. If you listen closely, you might sense that same rhythm in yourself, the slow, dependable pattern of breath. In this moment, the ocean, the signal, and your heartbeat all move in unison. And as the light nears land, its journey becomes a circle, beginning where another message once began. The world's conversations looping endlessly, carried through water, glass, and time itself. Soon we'll follow it ashore to see where it finally rests and how the sea quietly hands it back to the human world. The light has traveled thousands of kilometers, crossing valleys and trenches, drifting beneath storms and silence. Now, at last, it reaches the edge of land. The seabed tilts upward, the pressure eases, and the faint hum of waves begins to replace the deep quiet of the open ocean. Here, near the shoreline, the cable resurfaces, guided through conduits that lead from the sand into a narrow, windowless building overlooking the coast. This is another cable landing station, twin to the one where the journey began. Outside, it looks ordinary, just a structure of concrete and antennas. But inside, the air hums softly, filled with the pulse of light returning from its voyage. The beam enters the station through a single port, no larger than the circle of your thumb. From there, it splits into many paths, through routers, amplifiers, and fibers that branch like veins. Each pulse, each flicker of light carries fragments of stories, ideas, music, and memory. All of it, encoded in patterns of brightness so quick the human eye could never see. Technicians move quietly through the room, surrounded by blinking panels. They rarely think of the messages themselves, only of the signal's health, its stability, its gentle rhythm. They ensure that the light never falters. And just like that, the vast journey across the ocean becomes invisible again, turned into data, into words, into meaning. On the screens above, the light transforms into numbers, packets, and waves of information, billions every second. And somewhere far away, another person checks their phone, opens a message, and smiles. They'll never know that their moment of connection traveled across an ocean floor through a cable resting in silence for years. They'll never hear the echo of the deep or the patience of the sea. The signal continues onward, passing through networks that stretch across cities and nations, glowing quietly inside glass threads beneath streets and rivers. From the deep sea to the glowing lights of human life, the circle is complete. The light, once hidden beneath kilometers of water, now flows through the world above. It moves through cables that wind under city sidewalks, through buildings, and into the devices we hold every day. Each message, each sound, each moment of connection is made possible by this quiet pulse of light that began far below the surface. In one apartment, a parent whispers goodnight to a child across the world. In another, someone sends a photograph of dawn. A scientist shares new discoveries. A musician sends a song. Every act of communication, every small spark of human thought travels the same invisible path. We rarely notice it. We scroll, we call, we listen, and we share, never realizing that the words before us began as flickers of light carried through oceans. It's humbling to imagine that beneath every message lies a journey, a voyage through darkness, through patience, through time. The ocean keeps no record of what it carries. It does not remember who sent what or why. It only cradles the cables in stillness, letting the light pass through unharmed. In this way, the sea becomes both bridge and guardian, holding our collective voice in silence. When the storms rage above, the cables remain unmoved. When tides shift, they simply sway and settle. And while the world changes endlessly on the surface, the signal continues, timeless, tireless, and unseen. It's a reminder that so much of what connects us lies beneath awareness, invisible threads of effort, kindness, and care. Every connection, whether across oceans or across hearts, travels quietly, just like this beam of light. So tonight, as you rest, imagine those threads stretching across the world, glowing softly under the waves, carrying your thoughts and memories from one shore to another. The sea hums gently above them, steady and eternal as the world sleeps, connected and at peace. Night falls again above the ocean. The same stars that once guided sailors now shine over invisible networks below. The sea is dark and quiet, yet alive with motion. Gentle tides, drifting currents, the pulse of unseen creatures. And somewhere under all that water, the cables still hum, carrying fragments of life from one world to another. Each pulse of light is a promise kept, proof that distance is never final, that connection endures even when hidden from sight. The messages they carry are countless, endless, overlapping. They tell stories of hope and heartbreak, laughter and learning. They cross borders, languages, and time zones, all without pause. In the stillness of night, if you could listen closely enough, you might imagine hearing that quiet rhythm, not the noise of machines, but something softer, the gentle heartbeat of humanity, resonating beneath the waves. It moves with purpose, without pride, asking nothing in return. It simply exists, a current of light, holding us all together. When those first engineers sent a telegraph across the sea, they could never have imagined this. Billions of voices whispering through light, billions of hearts linked by glass. The ocean, once a barrier between worlds, became the bridge itself. And even now, as technology races forward, the foundation remains the same. A strand of glass carrying light through silence. Far above, the wind stirs, clouds drift, waves fold into one another and fade into foam. The ocean never sleeps, but it understands rest. It moves slowly, patiently, rhythmically, the same way you breathe as you drift toward dreams. So let that rhythm steady your thoughts. The same pattern that carries light across the sea carries calm across your mind. Inhale with the tide, exhale with the shore. Let the noise fade away until only the steady hum of connection remains. And now, as our journey nears its end, imagine the cables resting beneath you, quiet and constant. They've carried the world's stories through darkness, yet they ask for nothing and make no sound. They are the silent witnesses to every sunrise, every message, every act of care that crosses from one heart to another. Somewhere, a pulse of light leaves one shore and arrives at another, and someone smiles, unaware of the vast ocean in between. That's the wonder of it all. The greatest distances bridged by the smallest threads. The universe itself seems to mirror that truth. Stars scattered across the dark, each connected by light unseen. As you lie here, listening, you're part of that same web, not through cables or screens, but through being, through memory, empathy, and imagination. The same current that carries light across the sea carries peace through you now. It moves slowly, steadily, a reminder that connection does not require noise. It only requires presence. The world is quiet tonight. The oceans are calm. The cables hum beneath their endless waves, carrying messages that will continue long after we've fallen asleep. They ask for no audience, no applause, only to serve, to connect, to endure. So close your eyes now. Let your breath fall into rhythm with the waves, your thoughts drift with the light, your mind soften like sand beneath the tide. The ocean will keep moving, the light will keep shining, and the world, for a while, will be still. Good night.